From indie music festivals to global comedy tours, Only Much Louder or OML has long been the backstage engine of India's creator economy. What began as a talent management company for comics and musicians has now evolved into a data-driven machine managing creators even as they build careers, businesses, and even microcultures. Now, India's creator economy is expected to exceed $1 trillion by 2030. Today, we look at how it's evolving through the eyes of a kingmaker. My colleague Aanya, Thakur and I talked to OML's CEO Tusharr Kumar on all kinds of scale-up. From 80-seat gigs to sold-out stadiums, from small-town spark to long-term IPs, and from instinct to analytics and AI. What is driving the new wave of creator entrepreneurship? Listen on, it's Friday the 31st of October. I'm Anirban Chowdhury. This is The Morning Brief. Hi Tusharr, very warm welcome to The Morning Brief. Glad you could make time.
Thank you, glad to be here.
Right. Tusharr, you've been doing this for fairly long, and we've seen the creator space, the influencer space, we've seen this evolve and constantly change so much, especially in the last 2 years. Very dynamic. What would you say are the 2 or 3 biggest changes in this space that you've seen?
So I think the creator space evolves pretty much every 6 months, not even over the last 3 years. It's been super dynamic. And we've seen, some of the very obvious things. Like number one would be how we saw the shift from long format to short form video, right? And that changed the lives of many people. Our introduction to creators was primarily YouTube, right? And that's what drove our first understanding of who creators are. And we saw that shift from Instagram first, now being the way, right? Where a lot of people are creators purely on short format video and have built complete careers on that. So that is one significant shift that's happened. I'd say the second shift is that creators are really being far more entrepreneurial.
Correct.
Most of them are thinking in many different ways, right? They have their creator life on Instagram, but is there something they could be doing? Whether that's acting, whether that's sort of some of them building their own businesses, some are doing licensed businesses. So I'd say that's point number 2. And point number 3 essentially is that a lot of fan building, right, happens when you're able to toggle media. While the world's becoming more digital, you can't take away from building fandom by physically meeting your fans in whatever way they are.
Sure.
And we see now creators trying to do more and more of it, right? Like podcasters are now doing live shows. So I think we're going to see much more of that across different spaces with creators.
But how have success hacks changed in the last, say, 1 or 2 years?
I think the definition of success has changed and the speed.
And the scale also.
Scale, definitely. Yes, the scale of success, 100%. And also how soon someone wants to achieve success, right? But there was a lot more patience when you worked with artists back in the day because, we build a career slowly, you peak at a certain time, then you sustain it, then you do something new. That's completely flipped. Your career could peak 10 days after you've started your creator journey or on the first video itself, right? And then your parameter of success becomes that frequency, which sometimes does become unmanageable. But I think that's been the biggest flip. And obviously, like you said, scale, right? Like you look at someone like Zakir, who we work with. We just sold out Madison Square Garden. We just sold out Dubai Opera, which was the largest comedy show that ever happened in Dubai in terms of audiences, right? Who would have thought that Indian comedy and storytelling will fill stadiums? But I think to be able to see that happen is absolutely magical.
Tell me how OML works. I mean, you get a creator, you spot someone whom you find promising. What are the steps after that? How do you create that story?
Right. When in our creator management business, where we're working with all kinds of artists, we're working with people like, say, comedians who've got live as well as content part of their careers. And then we're working with beauty creators, travel creators, writers, directors. So really wide range of the kind of people that we work with. So it's not like we're looking only for mid sort of growth creators or we want to super specialize in niche creators. For example, we manage Trinetra, who's an actor, We manage a fitness influencer who's going to run the Arctic Marathon. It's really varied. I think as long as we feel that there's a creator whose journey we can plug into, and most importantly, can we add any value to them?
What are the 2-3 things in the checklist that makes you feel that this is a creator that we want to?
I think we've got, so there's obviously some mathematical checks, but putting that aside, do we vibe with their content?
Yeah.
And then secondly, going into, hey, how do we add value to this person's life? Can our live team, for example, plug in and help this artist, could be a musician, could be a storyteller, build their live career with us? How do we add value there?
Okay.
As a creator management unit, is our creative team able to think of different things for this creator to do? Do we think as an actor, we'll be able to help them build their casting from where they are at today? So we ask a bunch of these questions to ourselves, right? Before saying, okay, come on, let's work with an artist. Because it is a long-term relationship then that you're building.
Tell me one fascinating scale-up story of a creator.
So as OML, we're getting back into signing music talent. And one of the newest artists, musicians we signed up was someone called Bhuvin. He's a folk singer. He does contemporary version of it. He uses the loop on it, etc. And someone who's at OML, Mohan, who's here building our music business, and he sort of found him.
Found him on where? I mean, on social media, right?
We first discovered him on socials. Then someone from the team went for a few shows.
Got it.
Right, and we've really vibe with the kind of music he makes. And in essence, we signed him in February. He was doing 70, 80 seater shows. We just sold out Dubai 1,500 seats. Right, so that journey from then to now is amazing. A key part of this journey, which is very interesting, is that when we signed up, we said, okay, let's do one thing. Your music is amazing. Your voice is amazing. Let's level up your video game. We shot 2 reels. Those 2 reels went viral. And we saw such an amazing impact directly on ticket sales that's been really interesting. We see that in comedy all the time, right? A comedian drops a special either on an OTT platform or on YouTube, ticket sales immediately start rising.
Tell me about the math of it. How has it evolved? Data, how are they helping you to, turn it into something less instinctive and more measurable?
Instinct very often is derived from data points, right? It's just that you make observations, the sum total of those observations shapes your opinion, and that builds your instinct. Even from back in the day, when we would say take the risk of getting international artists to India, our data team, and this I'm talking about 12 years ago, 10 years ago, our data team was possibly one of the strongest data teams in India to be able to derive whether getting an international artist to India will make commercial sense. Right? Back then, we used to look at things from, now there's a lot more data, but back then look at search trends. How many people from Jaipur are searching about Enrique Iglesias? Should we do a tour there? But not just one data point, right? Overlaying it with stream data. Where is streams coming from? Then looking at the artist data to see where are your fans sitting. We've always been very deeply entrenched with data-led thinking. Obviously, it's just become much stronger now. So, for example, one of our most successful businesses that we run is an agency we run specifically for Bacardi's brands. So we've worked with Bacardi across Southeast Asia, Africa, Middle East, Latin America, Eastern Europe. We've been running these mandates sitting from here because, again, we're leaning on data in a heavy way. Because, the one thing we realized is platforms across the world work in the same way. So content performs very similarly, obviously with a lot of cultural context. The data team is the reason why we've been able to build out a business like this, right? And I think it's one of the only independent agencies in India who's been able to retain a global mandate for 7 years in a row. That also sort of working in markets say where we don't even speak the language.
Before I toss it over to Anya, tell me a little bit about the economics of it. Which are, for example, the revenue streams that are evolving the fastest? Is it IP licensing? Is it live shows? And of course, what is the split between if an artist is huge outside, internationally, what is the split in terms of revenue in business?
Got it. So I'll take it one at a time, right? The way our business has evolved is that we've been putting a significant focus on the branded content businesses that we have. And that we did over the last 3 or 4 odd years. So our branded content businesses, which is we have a creative agency business, we have Hypothesis, that is an influencer marketing agency, We have another agency, which I spoke about, 1862, which works on Bacardi's mandate. And we also have an incubation business that we are starting, which is where we do sports content for leagues and athletes and brands who want to work in sport. So when you look at a sum total of these businesses, it's what's actually driven a lot of growth for OML, both in terms of revenue as well in terms of helping build profitability. We've been a profitable company for the last 6 years overall, and that profit has been growing. So the branded content businesses together are a substantial chunk. Live touring, like we spoke about a little while earlier, is really doing well right now. And here, like your question about how domestic versus international, I'd say for most people, domestic is the big market to play in. And then you have the top comedians who've also been able to build internationally. On the unbranded content side of the business is where we make OTT and long format shows. So for example, like Comic Stan is a show we've produced year after year. We've done a bunch of fiction shows. We've made about 71 shows between Amazon Prime and Netflix so far as a producer. We pitch shows to platforms. When they get commissioned, we produce them. We also have OML Studios, which does work directly for brands. What I mean by that is, or for agencies, is that while on the agency side of the business, we're building out campaigns, the entire creative, etc. OML Studios also works with a Nykaa to just produce content directly. So that's the studio's business as well, in that sense.
Right. If I were to ask you, you don't name an artist, but one top artist, as of now, what would they earn annually? And what would be the split like in terms of, live performances, streams, branded?
So when it comes to, revenue sizes, we work with creators at all ends of the spectrum. So we work with creators who are just about growing. So people could be making between 20 lakhs a year to up to maybe 30, 40 lakhs a year. We're working with mid-tier creators. And then when you talk about top-tier creators, the thing is they're the 1% club, right? But yes, we have artists who are sort of making in that 40 crore a year revenue stream easily.
Just your top 10 or something, or more than that?
Yeah. Top 10, like say the top. And not just at OML, it's essentially when you're talking about
industry standard.
These numbers and the split of their composition varies significantly.
Cool.
So that's not true for any two people, right? You might have a creator, for example, who's so big on YouTube that the YouTube stream ad revenue is significant. You might have a creator who's doing massive touring in India but has no touring career in North America. So again, within live, that splits. So I think the splits are very, very varied. But you could be making anywhere from 20 lakhs to 40 crores. And we love to work with everyone in between that spectrum.
And what's your universe like? How many artists?
We're now managing about 95 artists. But we also manage writers. Writers who write fiction, non-fiction. But also writers who write amazing branded content. Right? Like say even what Tanmay did, right? He's apart from being a creator, entrepreneur, marketing genius, advertising man, he's also just been a great writer. And I think, he's obviously someone who's also now gone on to found his own advertising agency with Devaya, which is called Moonshot.
Moonshots, yeah.
So Tushar, I actually had questions about the industry and how a young creator who kind of wants to break into the industry would work. So I believe that the biggest problem that the industry, especially when you're starting out as a creator on social media, that they face is that of a very loosely defined world, right? But there's also a sense of formalization that is kind of coming into place with the government pushing guidelines for the creator economy, considering how big of a bump it's kind of made to the GDP of the country. How do you believe a formalization can be actually brought about?
So I think infrastructure for them, support systems for them, to help enable it should grow, but there should not just become any cookie cutter model of like, okay, these are the 5 things to do. Also too much regulation, right? Some regulation is great because it just ensures we're working or like content exists in a safe space and that it's not harming anyone. But over-regulating creators will essentially mean you're stifling an artist's creativity. So I do think and talking a little bit about like infrastructure that needs to build for them, I think things like those need to be built on, but we should also let it just find its own way and create its own path rather than sort of direct it too much. Yeah.
But are contracts better structured now? And what are the lessons you've learned too?
Oh, we've learned lots of lessons with contracts, right? Contracts are made for the worst day you try to make sure that you're protecting yourself and your artist in the best way possible. I think contracts, awareness of both agencies, managers, and artists has increased significantly. To know what are the things you should protect yourself from. Now with AI, with digital, you also have to add more sort of lines in your contracts, digital likenesses, audio likenesses, things like that. But the great thing is, because awareness has become available versus earlier only relying on your lawyer to tell you, each contract is so different from the other. So we've definitely become much more stringent in the contracts that we build. And also, I think the clients we work with understand most of the time things that we want included or excluded.
Do you revise your sensitive content checklist every 6 months with the industry?
I think, very honestly, the kind of content you put out, everyone's become more careful about. And it's
It's a lot of self-censorship that's happening.
Self-censorship. Some people choose also not to. I think it depends on your risk ability. Like, how much can you as an individual take a risk? You should base it on the practicality of that. And then say what you'd like to say, accordingly. But if you censor too much, art becomes boring. And I think, that should not happen. Even
ideally, you shouldn't censor it at all. But that's ideal. Okay, now talk to me about AI. How useful a tool is it, when you scan creators or brand campaigns? And does it help you decide what works and what doesn't?
No, absolutely. I mean, AI helps with a lot of sort of research that helps in, driving decision making. But we always add a human layer on top. So the tools we use for influencer discovery, for example, when we're working on an influencer marketing campaign, the tools will give you mathematically derived. They'll add a layer of it on top of AI, which is, again, in a way, coded with logic. But that decision requires that human media planner or influencer marketing strategist.
Got it.
So keeping with AI, I actually ran a few numbers, and data shows that about 30 or 40% of ad creatives right now by brands are all AI driven, right? And considering that especially category B or category C influencers or creators, their main source of revenue generation is ad revenue. How do you think that they can actually work with AI, leverage AI to kind of boost revenue instead of just, say, being replaced by it as brands kind of go forward with AI-generated ad streams?
So I think while we're going to see AI-generated ads, whether it's copy, whether it's image or video, grow, definitely. But they will grow in a space which I feel is a very specific part of the marketing funnel. So, for example, I think the first place you'll start seeing a lot of that being used, and when I talk about use, I mean at a mass level, is on performance marketing. Because there it's helping you build amazing efficiencies of being able to do A/B testing with insane number of sort of creative iterations. It's letting you translate much faster. It's letting you adapt creatives much faster. I mean, the work stream has just become really sped up. So, for creators to sort of leverage it, I think they need to also start using AI very smartly. So, for example, you've typically been an Odia creator, made content in Odia, but now you also want to do Bangla content, saying, chalo, culturally, maybe we have some similarities, mera content wahan pe bhi chalega, and Bangladesh mein, possibly. How smartly do you use the right AI tool to translate your content into Bengali, start a secondary channel, and grow, right? And suddenly your opportunities doubled from getting brands which are Odisha-based to getting brands which are sort of talking to also a Bengali-speaking audience. But if creators want to sort of leverage AI and grow with it, I think this is really important that they or their managers get very well versed with this.
There's also a very interesting phenomenon that's kind of coming up. We see a lot of AI-generated influencers that are kind of coming into the space, a lot of AI-generated actors and actresses that kind of agencies are fighting to sign, How do you think that's changing the influencer space, and will India soon follow suit?
So, my feeling about AI creators, whether they're actors, whether they're influencers, etc., is that they're here to make another content category. So I do not think it's going to eat into anyone's revenue. But it also creates multiple opportunities, right? Because you can also create very functional creators. So imagine being able to create a AI creator who does bite-sized tech review and then connecting it to an affiliate program. But could I, as an individual, set up 10 tech channels with very small differences in the character, voice, tonality, talk in different languages, have an affiliate program running in the back of it, it's amazing. And I think people have already started doing it. So some of those, but again, again, that's not going to replace anyone.
One last bit, I wanted to jump back into protecting your content. I wanted to speak about IP laws and usage rights, right? How can creators protect their original content and make sure that it isn't incessantly reproduced, or actually get credit for it, generate revenue off of it? How do you think IP laws in such an amorphous space kind of come into play?
So, I feel with IP, it's really smart to be strategic about it. Sometimes we feel like people over-index on IP ownership. You don't and should not put yourself through the process of trying to own every piece of content you want. Now, what I mean by that, right, is that sometimes you want content to be so freely shareable that it helps grow you in ways that you, in a planned way, could not have. Right? So as a musician, is there one track you want to sort of not be worried 30 people using? And I'm not just talking about Instagram, but places where you make a lot of licensing money otherwise. It depends on what stage of growth you're at. Do you want to be heard, or do you want to try to make really small money, which will not help, which is just like of importance in the short term?
But do a lot of creators share this open source attitude towards their content? Are they mature enough, I'm saying?
No, they are absolutely. Because if you think of it, even when a creator an influencer creates like an IP on their channel, on Instagram, which is their channel, they're giving away content to you for free all the time, right? A great sketch will have 25 other people trying to imitate that sketch.
Sure, and they do.
And they do, right? So I think the genesis of creators as we know it today is from a space of sabke liye hai. I think for creators, many times you have to, it's such a tough decision for them to say, okay, let me put it behind a paywall. Because maybe, and then register at IP, because you're trying to protect it. Because as people, they are used to just giving away. So I think creators understand that very well right now.
What lies ahead? I mean, trends that you find interesting that people may not know about but will know in a few months, and this is across your businesses. Let's start with that.
So one of our newest businesses, which we're super excited about, is the sports content team. We did all of the Instagram Reels content for the Mumbai Indians for 2 seasons. People are discovering sports now on Instagram. Like when the rugby league happened this year, the few people who I have spoken to about the rugby league in India have watched it on Instagram. And that's the first time in their lives they saw a rugby match, not on television. This shift of content, sports content, to becoming so much more entertaining. Obviously, we've seen that from WWE to IPL to all the leagues. But the shift of it to also short form content, I think that's a space to watch out for. In the creator space, we're going to start seeing a lot more success stories in niche creative segments as well. Say, for example, pottery content creators. And pottery studios who used to just do workshops earlier have now started making content around it, right? And driving great views because it's also SMR. It's also just really nice dopamine for when you have nothing else to watch. So that's a category that's going to grow. It's going to have its own fan base.
And longer term, subcultures that will really sustain over the next 4 or 5 years.
The 2 biggest categories out there are music and comedy. And the beautiful thing about it is just the breaking down of cultures, right? When we started the first music festival, the NA7 Weekender, we were talking to a subculture of people who believed in independent music. And then now when you look at it, that's broken down to so many micro subcultures, right? Mm-hmm. Whether it's the small coffee rave audience, I have my opinion on that, but whether it's that or you have people who are looking for folk music experiences and will pay top dollar to go to Jaisalmer or Jodhpur to watch those concerts. So I do think what's going to happen is there are large subcultures that exist. We're going to see the breaking down of that into very small microcultures. Mm. And I don't think anyone needs to try to be catering to all of them. Find what your micro sort of unit of audience is. And if you can excite them, you're doing a great job.
On that note, Tushar, thank you so much for joining us on The Morning Brief.
Thank you so much.
Awesome to be here. Thank you.
A potent mix of instinct, data, and storytelling is rewriting what it means to be an artist entrepreneur. One thing is clear. From live shows to AI-driven discovery, from podcasts to pottery, the next big creative wave may come from anywhere, mainstream or margins. You were listening to this episode on The Morning Brief. It was produced by me and Vinay Joshi, sound designed by Rajas Naik. A new episode of The Morning Brief drops every Tuesday, Thursday and Friday, wherever you get your podcasts. Also, don't miss Corner Office Conversation, our show where we talk to the most interesting business and thought leaders from India and the world. Keep listening.